Okay, whenever you're ready, Matt.
Okay, so we'll start with the altruistic motivation. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Dagla Dangwa Jepe Dra Nopar Jepe Gig Darpa Dang Tamche Kenpe Bardu Chopar Jepa Tamche Kiso Jepe Manam ka dang nyampe semchen tamche dewa dangden dugnao dangdrel nyordel lana mepa yang dapar zope shangshu rinpoche doparja. The action bodhicitta. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. De che du sang mange ki bardu lunang yisam ge wa la ko. Mashe bardu lunang yisam ge wa la ko. Du de ring ne sung te Nima Sangda Samgi Bardu Lunang Yisam Gewa Lako. The Long Refuge Prayer. We take refuge in the kind root and lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root and lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eyes of wisdom. Drinchen Sawa Dang Jurpar Jepe Pelden Lama Dampa Namla Kyapsu Chio Yadam Kyokor Gilaso Namla Kyapsu Chio Sangye Chomden de Namla Kyapsu Chio Dampa Icho Namla Kyapsu Chio Pangpe Gindun Namla Kyapsu Chio Pawo Kandro Chokyong Sungme Sugyeshe Ki Chendang Denpa Namla Kyabsu Chio.
We're on page 4 in the prayer book.
Taking the Bodhisattva vow. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to Bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to Bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Shangshu Ningpor Chiki Bar Sangye Namla Kyabsu Chi Chodang Jangshub Senpai Suglanyang Jeshin Kyabsu Chi Jitar Nyongji Deshe Ki Jiangsu Tugni Kiepadang Jiangsu Sempe La Pala Dedag Rimshin Nepatar Dezin Drola Pendondu Jiangsu Semni Ki Jijing Dejin Duni La Pala Rimpa Zindu La Parji. In the short refuge prayer. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merits of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sangye Shodang Soki Chognam La Jiangsu Badu Dagni Kyapsuchi Daji Jinsu Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Penshir Sangye Drupa Sho. And the four immeasurables. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness in the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness in the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Manam ka dang nyampe simchen tamche dewa dang dewe gyurdang den par jurchik do now ji ju dang drawar jurchik do now me pe dewa dang mi drawar jurchik ne ring chagdang ni dang drawe tang nomla ne par jurchik.
Page 12, please.
12. Likewise be extinguished all enemies to my purpose, whatever evil forces are in me be defeated. Do this so that when I am victorious, all pure radiance melts into me completely purified. Take all this knowledge, food and drink peacefully, enjoy it, and be satisfied so that all obstacles may be destroyed. Be liberated from all obstacles, all general obstacles. Maras are defeated by this gesture of the Buddha. By reciting this mantra, may all the Maras be purified. As a result, may all the Maras be defeated.
Very good. Thank you. So now we continue. I'm going to screen share the four thoughts. So this is a practice session. That what we are doing is we are engaging in the proper practice for daily practice. So we just recited the opening prayers, and now we come and we recite the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma.
Hey, Lance.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you want to do this today, but if you want me to record it on my end,
Yes.
I think I need to just something you need to hit to give
Oh,
me
I need
permission.
to enable that. Yes, sorry. Just a moment.
I didn't think about it earlier.
Yep, right.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
Zara.
morning.
I'm Zara.
Hi, Gary.
Okay. All right, so now you should be able to record.
I think you might have made Gary instead of me the.
Did I?
Let me. I just did a send request actually. Okay, now it should be good.
Oh, you're right. Yes. The
All right.
This
Yeah,
thing keeps jumping around.
I'm good on my end now.
All right, good.
Thanks.
Okay, so I was going to screen share. So here we are. So next we do the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma. So this is the method to develop a daily practice by doing these different prayers and these different contemplations. So this is the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma. These are also called the preliminary foundation awakenings, and also called the 4 common preliminaries. So this image here, we see that in the center is the Dharma chakra wheel, the 8-spoke wheel, which is our Dharma practice. And then here are wisdom jewels that are surrounding this. And then over on either side are the books, are the scriptures that are parts of our practice to help us to stabilize in the wisdom jewels. So we recite this, the precious human life. So if you can see this on your screen and recite this along with us, if you have copies of this, many of you may have copies of this that you have received from us one time or another in the mail, or from Dharma Surya when you visited Dharma Surya. So the first of the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma is precious human life. So we will recite this, and then we will have a contemplation of this when we finish. The freedoms and advantages so extremely difficult to obtain accomplish the purpose of human life. If one does not achieve benefit from this now, how could this opportunity come again? Oh, this kind of leisure and endowment is supremely difficult to obtain. When one obtains the body, which is easily lost, do not waste it meaninglessly, but rather use it to attain ultimate liberation, joyous result. So now please contemplate the meaning of this. You may read this quietly to yourself. So for this, we'll have a 3-minute meditation, contemplation. Precious human life. Okay. Next, we go to impermanence. These are 2 pages. So we recite out loud. Ka, no matter what has been done, nothing benefits at the time of death. Worldly activities, yes, they are lies. Ka, the 8 worldly dharmas are like a painted rainbow. Think you can put your trust in them? In the certainty of death and knowing that nothing remains long, quickly accomplish liberation. Impermanence makes departure certain, like the shadow of the setting sun. Abandoning laziness and indifference, blaze like fire in fierce diligence. This life is impermanent, like clouds in the autumn sky. Birth and death migrators are the same as actors in a play or dance. The life of beings is like lightning in the sky. Like water falling from a steep mountain cliff, it departs quickly, quickly. The nature of all phenomena is impermanence. Death is a certainty to all who are born. Death can descend any time, like a drop of morning dew on a blade of grass. Quick, it is time to make effort for the essence of the Dharma. So contemplate the meaning of impermanence. The 8 worldly activities are pleasure and pain, gain and loss, fame and disgrace, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, fame and disgrace. These are the 8 worldly concerns. So think about how much time we spend thinking about these 8 worldly concerns and how much opportunity there's been for us to think about the Dharma, our spirituality. So contemplate the meaning of impermanence. Next, we come to the suffering of samsara. Consider the suffering of beings in the 6 realms of samsara. Doing so, great fear and dread arise in the heart. In the 3 lower realms, and even in the 3 higher ones, there is not an instant of absolute happiness. I will avoid the root cause of my samsaric existence and practice the excellent path of peace to enlightenment. Contemplate the meaning of the suffering of samsara. Next is the karma, cause and result. Even if one were a king at the time of death, one's possessions, enjoyments, friends, and retinue will not follow. But wherever that sentient being goes, his karma follows after him like a shadow. The fruit of one's positive karma is happiness. Suffering is the fruit of negative karma. The inexorable karmic causation is the mode of abiding in all directions and all dharmas. Henceforth, practice the Dharma by distinguishing between what should be practiced and what should be given up. Exorable is the inarguable, something that karma cessation, karma is a law of nature. contemplate the meaning of karma, cause, and result. So these are the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma and keep us there. These four thoughts are something that we repeat every day to kind of keep us on track. And whether we are a beginner or whether we're an advanced practitioner or we're the Dalai Lama, these four thoughts are indispensable in being able to begin our day and close our day, to keep us focused on who we are and what it is that we are doing. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the four thoughts or the opening prayers that we've talked about so far?
Lance,
Yes.
I would just like to comment that in my contemplations, in the first set of contemplations, I was reflecting on how grateful I was to have been given the chance to have the freedom to pursue a spiritual life. And that before we got to karma, I was still on the first thought thinking, I'm grateful to have been given the experience of karma, both good and bad, so that I could grow into the spiritual being that I am and that I'm continuing to grow into. So it's very helpful to think of these four thoughts. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. No, that's perfect.
Hey, Lance, this is Zara. I have a technical question.
Yes.
So
First of all, the way we've just done it has profoundly changed my practice in the last 6 weeks. I've been talking about that with you privately and sharing that with others. The way you just did it with us just now, is that the best process? How we do the prayer, say it out loud, and then do the interval of meditation, like exactly as you read everything out. Is
Yes.
that your best recommendation? Okay.
Yes, this is the format.
So I have a procedural question because it really has changed my life so much. Like I wake up so much lighter now, and my monkey mind is so much quieter now that I just go right to these 4 thoughts. When you were on impermanence and you paused and you said the 8 worldly concerns,
Yes.
is that also part of it? Like making sure we are actively aware of those 8 things and saying them out loud?
Yes, precisely.
Okay. That's important to me because like in following your guidance over the last few weeks, I've now seen a profound impact. So sometimes it's part of just getting into the practice, trusting the person who's experienced, just getting into the pathway and then asking questions later. So this is really helpful and helps me fine tune what I'm doing now. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Hi, Lance.
Yes.
Where do I find the 8 worldly concerns?
I think if you look, I think in the package that I gave you, I think you have that in there, and it's in one of the pages, I believe.
Okay, let me check. I sure would like to read along.
Yeah, that package.
Well, okay, in here with the medicine Buddha.
Yeah, it's a text that looks something like this. It's got a red cover, and it was in that envelope that you got.
I'm lost.
Well, checking that envelope or looking, maybe it's in the Medicine Buddha booklet. Maybe you got stuffed in there, but it was in that envelope.
Okay.
So if you need another copy, we'll arrange to get you another copy.
Can I ask you a quick question, Lance? Have you heard of the book Radical Self-Acceptance? It's about 20 years old, but it's by a Buddhist psychologist. And one of the things, this was back before I was studying Buddhism, but one of the things that I found helpful was that she talked about the different reasons for samsara. And one of the things she talked about was meeting thoughts and emotions that were discordant or suffering with loving compassion, which then allows you to transform them and let go of them and become an observer of them so they flow through you rather than feeling like you're one with them and you're stuck in that state. So I don't know if that's helpful to anyone or if you've heard of that book, but I think it's a really good book.
Well, that sounds very good, and that's right on, because we're not suppressing negativity, confusion. We're bringing negativity and confusion onto the path of enlightenment. So if we look at that confusion, if we look at that negativity as darkness, the correct way to deal with it is to enlighten it, to bring it onto the path of enlightenment, so that we can see what are the causes of those confusions and negativities and so on, enlighten them. And through that process is how we neutralize them. So that which becomes negative, we apply the positive nature of that, and then it neutralizes it so that there's neither a strong negative or a strong positive. It's neutralized. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to be in the middle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So here on the screen, you can see there is the Om, the Ah, and the Hung. You can see it in the Tibetan language. And then, so when the Om is at the crown, and this is the body of the Buddha, the bliss nature of the Buddha. And the ah is at the throat, is the chakra at the throat. This is the speech of the Buddha, or the intellectualization of the Buddha, the speech of the Buddha, the unborn nature. So this is the Dharma, the teaching, the unborn nature of the Buddhas. And then the Hung is at the heart, the chakra at the heart. This is the mind of the Buddha, the wisdom mind of the Buddha. So all this is within ourselves, and that's what we are doing, is awakening to this, that we have this body of the Buddha, the speech of the Buddha, and the mind of the Buddha, the spiritual mind of the Buddha. So the intellectual mind of the Buddha, represented by the speech of the Buddha, and the spiritual mind of the Buddha at the heart, we are bringing together. We're bringing together because we don't, in the beginning, the speech, the intellectualization is blocking up the spirituality. So we're removing those blockages. And as we do, we see that it's one mind that had two parts, but it seemed like it was completely separate, but they are inseparable with each other. Okay, very good questions. If anybody has anything else, we continue with the stages of meditation, because this is what we are doing, is a daily meditation practice. So the first part was the remembrance of why it is that we are doing. We are setting our motivation. We are setting our intention with the prayers. The prayers are helping us to remember why we are doing this. The second part are the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma. So we are recognizing our human condition. We are recognizing the things that we need to deal with, the things that we are maybe overwhelmed with, but we are seeing them as confusion, and we are turning them into these wisdom jewels by learning how to deal with them through the Dharma teachings, through these books, all this knowledge that we have, these techniques and so on. So next, we go into, we need to be able to learn to practice the method in which that we are doing this. So the method in which we are doing this is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the method. Method is the mind, the holy enlightened mind. So the holy enlightened mind has these four characteristics, these four qualities. It has the quality of loving kindness, the quality of compassion, the quality of empathetic joy, and the quality of equanimity. So we show this for ourselves. It's easy for us to have these loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity for ourselves, but we also need to be able to show that to other beings. This is the method in which we are actualizing our Buddha nature, that pure nature that we have within ourselves. So we're recognizing it in these four manners, these four vast qualities: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So this should be something that you memorize, and because this will become the platform on which everything else is happening in our lives. So in order for this to be done, we now move to the stages of meditation practice, where we are we're meditating. Well, we already did the meditation for the four thoughts. Now we are doing the method to meditate on loving kindness. So in order to do that, we need to think of what is the purest form of love that we have experienced. So we use our mother as an example. Now, the mother may be our aunt, may be an uncle, may be our father, may be an older brother or sister, maybe another family member. Maybe it wasn't even our family. Maybe we were raised in a foster home, or maybe we were raised in an orphanage or something like that. But there have been people, there have been someone who really looked after you when you were an infant and took care of you, made sure that you were fed properly, made sure that you were clothed properly, that you were comfortable, and be able to teach you the fundamentals of what it is to be a human being, how to walk, how to talk, how to be with other people, and so on like that. So we use the mother as the example of who that person is. So we talk about the four kindnesses of the mother, and this teaches us loving kindness because our mother, with her loving kindness, has done this for us. So these four kindnesses are: first, she gave birth to our body. Second, she would give up her life for ourselves, for oneself. The third is she taught one what to take up and what to abandon. She showed us right from wrong. And she performed austerities for our benefit. So these four things show the mother's devotion, shows the mother's loving kindness for her children. So whether we recognize this from our mother directly or from some caretaker who was looking after us like this, or maybe it was ourselves as we had began to raise families, we had children and we raised our children, and these qualities came to us. I remember, thinking back when we had children, when we had our first child, and thinking, well, how do we learn what it is to be a parent? And you find that things come up naturally. This loving kindness comes up naturally. But if you're more aware of it as in a Buddhist sense, in a spiritual sense, it becomes stronger, and you begin to see all beings as your mother. To be able to do that means that you're narrowing the gap between ourselves and other. We're seeing ourselves as the same as others, and others can see themselves in ourselves. So this is what we're trying to do, not to see differences between each other, but to see the sameness with each other. So this loving kindness is a huge part of that. So this is the four thoughts, or rather, this is the four kindnesses the mother has shown. So now, please sit in the posture and relax and contemplate the four kindnesses the mother has shown. Take a deep breath. Fill your lungs with fresh, clean, pure air. Bring the breath all the way down to 4 inches below your navel and hold the breath there. Expand your abdomen, pulling the air down and holding in your abdomen at your navel level. And then squeeze the abdomen, push the stale, negative, dark air out now through both nostrils. So we're forcing that stale, negative air out, and we hold that empty breath. So we've compressed the abdomen against the diaphragm, which is attached to the lungs and forces all that stale air out of our lungs. And breathe in again through both nostrils. Bringing the air 4 inches down below our navel and hold the breath. Fresh, clean, pure air circulating through our body. Exhale, squeeze out all that stale, negative air. Hold the breath. Inhale one more time. Exhale. Stay relaxed, keep your back straight, and contemplate loving kindness. The loving kindness that our mother has carried our body as she was pregnant. And contemplate how she risked her own life in order to bring us into life. And think about what she has taught us: how to walk, how to talk, how to take care of ourselves, dress ourselves, all the things that are necessary, her patience that she showed us, her loving kindness. Not to hurt ourselves, to be safe, not to hurt other beings. And think about the sacrifices that our mother made for our benefit. Maybe she gave up her career. Maybe she left school. Maybe she didn't have many things for herself personally in her closet. So many sacrifices, austerities, the simplicity of life that she was able to just keep so that we could have a good, safe place to live. The loving kindness of the mother. So in order for us to show loving kindness to all other beings, we think of the mother, that our mother is all other beings. We've had many lives. We've been born many times. We've passed away many times, only to be born again. So who's to say who has been our mother and to whom we may have been mother? But just as our mother forgave us when we did wrong things as we were growing up around the house, and she taught us right from wrong, we have to look at those who are coming at us with confusion, coming at us with hatred, with jealousy. And we need to recognize them as our mother. And be able to have forgiveness for them and to help them to relieve them of their suffering. Loving kindness of the mother. So next we need to meditate on compassion. How do we know compassion? What is compassion? Compassion is the actualization of that loving kindness. That when there is confusion from the loving kindness and there is anger, there is aggression, you have to have that compassion to be able to look through that negativity and say, oh, there is a cause for that. We may not know the cause ourselves, but those beings who are suffering, who are demonstrating that anger, there is a cause in their minds, in their hearts. And to show them the compassion that we would show for our mother, if our mother was coming at us with that kind of anger or confusion. So we visualize our mother in each of the 6 realms, the 6 human realms that we've talked about before. We think about the mother being tortured by demons in the hell realm. The demons that are causing her to do very, very negative things, very bad things. And if our mother was doing those things, we would have forgiveness for our mother. We would do everything we can to help our mother to overcome the suffering and to help her to avoid further suffering by not doing those negative things any longer. So those demons within our mother, if our mother had serious addictions that was causing her to harm herself or others, things that we initially didn't recognize, but as we got older and we began to recognize our mother as a human being, just like us, as a brother, as a sister, rather than just our mother, we begin to recognize that she has her foibles, she has her demons. And next, we would visualize our mother as a hungry ghost. The hungry ghosts are never satisfied, always miserable, insatiable, characterized by being thirsty and hungry all the time. Hunger and thirst to satisfy their fat, round bodies. Their long, thin necks and their very small mouths can never eat or drink enough to satisfy their hunger and thirst. But it also could be their jobs, their position in life, their responsibilities that they have. Some people are just very, very insatiable. They want to have more, and they don't want to share what it is that they have. They become very greedy. And if we saw our mother behaving in that manner towards us or towards other beings, we would have forgiveness for our mother. We would realize that there's something hidden within her life that is causing her to have these negativities, and we would help her to recognize those causes. So we look at all beings as being our mother, looking through their negativity, looking through their insatiability, through their greediness, say there is a root cause for that, and I will help them to recognize that and use that to overcome their negativity. We visualize our mother in the animal realm, being beaten and eaten by other animals, being ignorant of who she is, what she is. She's suffering from just animalistic qualities of sexual misbehavior, from ruthlessness, from just meanness towards other beings. If we saw our mother behaving in that way, we would have forgiveness for her, and we would try to help her to recognize the causes of her ignorance. So we see all beings as our mothers. So when we see beings that are being ignorant, that are misbehaving terribly, we have hope for them. We have practice for them, from our heart to their heart. And then for human beings, we visualize our mother in the human realm, suffering sickness and suffering old age. We have forgiveness for our mother. We have compassion for her, going through her old age years, going through the sicknesses that come to us and the injuries that come to us as we get older. So likewise, we do that for all beings, visualizing them all as our mother, to be able to help them in every way that we can, have compassion for their suffering. And we visualize our mother as a jealous God, as a titan, a powerful person who has great skillful means, the great ability to do things, but not doing them with wisdom, not being guided by wisdom. And what results is conflict and heedless pleasure in their lives, taking advantage of other beings, building our own self-aggrandizement at the expense of others. If we saw our mother behaving in that way, we would do everything we could to help her to see the causes of her bad behavior. And so likewise, we would try and help all other beings who are behaving in the same jealous manner, taking advantage of other beings, to help them to recognize their negativities, their confusions, the causes of them, and to be able to neutralize them. We showing our compassion for them. And the mothers who are full of pride and have become desperate at the end of their lives, that they are having to face the reality of leaving this life and facing whatever truth that they have been able to suppress all their lives. This pridefulness is just a veneer. And so we have compassion for our mothers as they are like gods, as they are like devas, human gods, who have always known what to do, have great wisdom, but maybe not the ability to be able to actualize that wisdom, caught up in their own pleasures and not recognizing the suffering of other beings. So we have compassion for our mother in the God realm. And we use that to be able to recognize the suffering of other beings who are caught in their pridefulness, who are caught in their desperate attempt not to leave this life, to lose their power. So this is how we learn compassion, by visualizing our mother in these 6 realms and being able to use those lessons toward other beings who are suffering in the six realms. We are bringing ourselves together with all other beings instead of being separate from other beings. So contemplate for a moment the method of compassion. So next is the method to meditate on empathetic joy. The joy that we have within ourselves, that we have recognized that we have brothers and sisters, we have Sangha, we have teachers, we have Buddha who is giving us these teachings, and we are recognizing these teachings within ourselves, and we have joy for ourselves, that we have good health, and that we have this human life and the ability to do many, many, many things. And we recognize this in other beings. We see the empathy that we have for other beings and what they are doing. So we recognize this joy experience. And we wish that all beings may have the happiness that is free from suffering. If there is happiness that is free from suffering, there is just pure joy. That they sustain that happiness that is free from suffering. They maintain that joy all the time. May we always have this joy. May the suffering of sorrow, the suffering of confusion not enter into our lives. We may still have sickness, we may still have injury, may have elements that bring confusion to our lives, but we are not attached to them. We don't have aversion to them. We don't have hatred towards them. We see them as challenges that need to be neutralized through wisdom, through patience, through diligence, through generosity, through morality, through mindfulness, awareness of what is happening. And this joy stabilizes, this empathetic joy. All beings want to be happy. So we cut through the negativity, we cut through the confusion that has been the cause of their suffering. And we give that sustaining ability that we are not causing them any undue strain, any undue cause for suffering. We give them cause to be joyous. Our joy becomes an inspiration for their joy. And we think of the method to meditate on equanimity, to see the sameness in all beings, to maintain calmness regarding all beings. May my mind remain in equanimity without attachment or aversion towards all beings. So even if our mother is suffering, even if our mother is doing terrible things, even if these beings are suffering in their own ways and they're doing terrible things, that we love them just the same. We have equanimity. We treat them neither with attachment nor aversion. It doesn't mean that we don't engage with them. We do engage with them. but we do it with the awareness of equanimity. That we will help everything we can, we will do everything we can. Not everybody is going to be able to respond. People are going to revert back to their habitual tendencies and to their confusions. Their karma will overtake them. But we still have loving kindness and compassion and joy for them, despite the fact that they may be out of balance. But yet we can see a balance within ourselves, and we want that balance for all beings. And we try and project that balance, that sameness to all beings. So this is the actualization of bodhicitta, a wholly enlightened mind. And not only are we having this bodhicitta within ourselves, but we are actualizing it with all beings, for all beings. This is how we start our day. This is how we end our day. During the day, we take a moment to pause and to reflect on bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the wholly enlightened mind of all the enlightened ones. And slowly, slowly, we transform ourselves into enlightened ones. And we can see the change through our bodhicitta, the way in which we are regarding other beings, in which we are helping other beings, the calmness that we maintain. And take a deep breath and hold it. Keep your back straight. Exhale and hold it. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Breathe in. And out. Relax. Breathe normal. Open your eyes. We can have a little bit of a discussion. Any thoughts or questions about the method of bodhicitta? If we were to say, well, I want you to recite the opening prayers, and then I want you to recite the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma, and then I want you to think about loving kindness and compassion. How would you do that?
Lance, this is Vera. I just love the practice we did. This is probably my favorite session with you that we just did. It was really helpful. I had a couple light bulb moments with your careful explanation and in the practice. Thank you.
Well, good. Well, thank you. You got a little muffled at the end there, but thank you very much.
Lance, can I speak for a second or?
Certainly, please.
Okay. Since I think it was last summer, there was a special on Bodhicitta, and there's a book about Bodhicitta, and I just want to say it's both very rewarding when I am able to live by it, and very I feel very sad when I'm not able to follow its tenets the way I would want to. I have a lot of past trauma in my life and people that I don't interact with that much, but when I do, and they were people that were part of that trauma, it's harder to follow the precepts of Bodhicitta all the way through. Although I try to interact with them that way and I have no anger toward them, I still don't find myself able to make them a part of my daily life. I can't go to that place. But when I do interact with them, I do still try to follow the precepts of Bodhicitta. Is that a good goal, or should I be taking it farther? Because I can't change them. All I can do is when I do happen to interact with them, try to be as loving kindness and compassionate and all of that as I can be.
Well, that's right. And you're doing the right thing and gradually, and I'm sure that there's been, improvement. You can see that things have changed over the course of, these past couple of years or whatever. So you can see that it is working and just continue to have diligence and patience, and you will see that it will become even stronger in your life, in your own heart, in your activities each day. So where there's still some work to be done through this daily practice, you'll see that that work will be accomplished. So that's what we're trying to convey to everybody, is that there is this commitment to doing a daily practice. And when there comes times when, maybe we get sick, we get ill, maybe we take a vacation, different things begin to happen to us and we move away from our daily practice, how much we miss that. And then when we come back to it, how much stronger it becomes to us because we realize what it is to be without it. And we really kind of recommit to it and make it much more meaningful. And then even when we do go on vacation, we take the practice with us. Even when we do get sick, we do take the practice in our sick bed and so on like that. So it becomes our lifestyle. It becomes who we are, something that we do every day, and it needs to be nurtured. Just like we get up every day and we go and we brush our teeth and we wash ourselves, we take care of our personal hygiene of our bodies. We also have to take care of our hearts, our heart center. So this is the manner in which we can do that. Thank you.
I have a question or kind of topic or comment.
Sure.
I guess how it would apply, or if it would be good to apply with bodhicitta or compassion in the way we're working with it with this, but is like compassion for oneself, like somehow including ourselves in it. And I
Yes.
wonder, I think I would imagine this is something that is like more of a modern time thing, or maybe a Western thing too, or with modern people. I don't know if in the same way there's this same kind of pervasive like shame and self-loathing and stuff that's so common, at least in our culture now. I can't really speak exactly to like with other cultures or in the past, but I have a feeling like might be different in a way that would be useful to like have as part of the practice in some way. I don't know if you and anyone else has any other thoughts about that, but
Well, I
might
think
be what
that's what
Happy was saying actually
Well, I
earlier.
think the four thoughts that turn to mind to the Dharma really is talking about that, because you're looking at your precious human life. You're looking at your impermanence. You're looking at your karma, cause and result, and we're looking at your suffering of samsara. So that's the opportunity to recognize that you're making this connection with yourself. It has to start someplace. And so to have that beginning is very important. So we need to see that there's that function has taken place in those four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma. Then we start applying it to other beings with the bodhicitta. Then we're showing it to other beings. So the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma was one of the first teachings of the Buddha, as in the Hinayana tradition, in the the personal, the individual liberation, the discipline of recognizing yourself as a human being and taking responsibility for that and for your own enlightenment. So this was taught at that time. Then came the notion of the bodhisattva to be able to help other beings, that everything that we do for the benefit of other beings. And then this feeds back to that first part and helps us to purify ourselves even more. So we are thinking about that. Does that make sense? Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
So, this is a process. And, more and more light comes in. The more we ask these questions and the more we look at the way in which the subtleties of this are actualized, we see the genius of what the Buddha teachings are, what the Buddha Dharma is.
Lance, I don't know, but I understand the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma. But I do also like what was just being said about the specific terms of bodhicitta and the concepts also being directly turned toward the self, so that you're treating yourself that way. I don't know if maybe I'm just missing the point, but it just seems to me that's a very appealing idea, because like you said, it has to start somewhere. And personally, I like what the comment that was made. I'm really sorry, I've forgotten the gentleman's name who said it, about compassion for the self. But I like the concept. I like the idea of not just applying it to other beings, but using the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma in combination with bodhicitta toward yourself, so that you have more of yourself to give to others. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me too. And maybe that's like kind of different than, not different, but not directly what we're talking about now, but maybe like some of the teaching like Buddha nature and things as well, like one's own Buddha nature could be part of that potentially. But I do think it, yeah, like you're saying, I do think it's an important thing. And I mean, even just like for myself, just like I don't know, just like the shame or like just the beating up on yourself in the mind, which I do think is more of a modern cultural thing that hasn't always been the case in the way it is. The way it is now, that I think can be an impediment for a lot of people, or even having compassion more for other people. I do find is easier when I don't feel that way towards myself as much. Yeah.
Well, the awareness is the work in progress. That's what we're doing. It's interesting to just note, culturally, if we look at this, I mean, this is just 2,600 years ago, but if we could go back further to, tens of thousands of years and so on, it's taught that there was a greater awareness of spirituality, and then what we have kind of devolved out of that spirituality into this, this bankruptcy. They talk about the spiritual bankruptcy that human beings have entered into at this time. And and maybe what we're trying to do is to get back to that spirituality. So where it maybe the nadir of that, the bottom part of that You know, we've had 2 world wars in the past 100 years, and other wars, not to mention other catastrophes that we've had to face, man-made catastrophes. You know, what's going on with the global warming and all that kind of stuff, and civil wars and all this kind of stuff. So maybe we're moving back in that direction. It depends on what we're doing. Uh, is going to determine how that moves. It's going to move that way for us, and what influence we have with other people to get back to that. You know, it's another thing that, you know, it hasn't gone away. It you know, one of the things, and I think maybe at one time or another we talked about this, but because of our humility, because, you know, we talk about this in Buddhism a lot, you know, about being humble and not being evangelic, and going out and letting people know, you know, what it is that you've learned, and, you know, how it is that you've progressed and so on. There seems to be that there's not a big change happening, but I think there's a lot of people who have changed. And what has happened is that there has been this other rise of powerful people, the jealous gods, who have taken advantage of that, and who seem to be representing, you know, everybody, but they only represent a small number of people. The vast number of people are just very happy. They just want to be happy. They're already spiritual. They have some realization of that, but they let themselves be suppressed by these mad people who are doing these terrible things. So at some point there might be some kind of a catastrophe or something like that that galvanizes these other people who are the peaceful people to say, man, we just got to do something about this. And then finally they kind of come together, their energy comes together, and then they're able to put, you know, the mad people back in their cages, so to speak. So it's an interesting illustration anyway.
Yeah, Lance, I agree with what you just said about describing what's going on right now. I completely agree with your summary.
Well, good. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, from a political point of view, I saw something on television yesterday on one of those talk programs, and they were talking about, you know, here are these two, you know, factions that are getting wider and further apart, but the middle is growing. And at some point, if that middle was to have a hero in that middle part, it would have 60% of the people ready to actualize.
Lance, are you going to run for a political party?
No, not at all. I'm in the old age group.
Okay.
All right, well, let's take a short break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about the Shamatha meditation that we've been talking about these past couple of weeks, and we're going to introduce a little bit of the Vipassana meditation, because that's the next part of the meditation. So, as we talked about, this is a format. This is an organization of procedure to do this. Now, we're taking a couple hours to go through this. You might be able to do this in 10 or 15 minutes, the more you get familiar with this, to be able to get to the parts that we're going to talk about after our break. So I just want you to realize that we've got this system that we are presenting to you, and we need to incorporate this system into the routine of our lives. And that's how the benefit, that's how the changes come. So right now it's 10:30. So let's take a 15-minute break. We'll come back at quarter of the hour. Okay. I'm going to pause this recording. Matt, you might want. Okay. So we're going to talk about calm abiding meditation. So what we've done before was more contemplation. Before thoughts return to mind, and then the method, contemplating the method of bodhicitta. So that was very contemplative. So now we're getting into the calm abiding meditation. So the calm abiding meditation is, just as the name implies, that what we're trying to do is we're trying to rest the mind. So we're trying to rest the mind, and by using techniques, physical techniques, intellectual techniques to help us to do that. So we're using guides and so on. So the last couple of weeks, what we did was we used the mantra as a means to set our one-pointed mindfulness. So we were reciting a mantra over and over and over again, and we would stop doing the mantra, and then we would have this period of resting and be able to have that shamatha, calm abiding meditation experience. We also used, what do we do? I've forgotten. We use the breathing exercise, of course. Yes, we use watching the breath. So we use that in the same way, where we repeated that over and over again, stabilized our one-pointed mindfulness, and then we were able to just rest in that. And then we also mentioned that there was a looking at an image, or having an image in front of us, to the object of a visual object. So it should be something that is kind of not very bright, not disturbing to our eyes because we're staring at it. So it should be something that is comfortable. So using a picture, an image of a Buddha, an image of a landscape, something that inspires you for both restfulness, but also inspiration of something that is very natural to you. So so that's what we want to do today for a little bit. And so I'm going to put up an image of the Buddha when we come to that. But first, I also want to mention that we want to be mindful of our surroundings, and we want to be mindful of our body position, what we are doing. So the 7-point posture of Varanchana is how we refer to this. So Varanchana is a Buddha, but also there have been some great monks and so on who have been named Varanchana. So so it's called the 7-point posture of Varanchana, who was a monk who taught this, who at least first articulated this. But it's the point of sitting comfortably, keeping your back straight, having your legs crossed. If you're sitting on the floor, if you're sitting on a cushion, having your legs crossed so that you're in a nice balanced position. Because I'm sitting in a chair now because I hurt my back and I can't sit on the floor comfortably. But I find that by sitting on the chair, all my weight is really on my butt on the chair. And when you're sitting on a cushion on the floor, you're more evenly distributed between your legs and your knees and your butt. And there's less pressure just directly on your butt. But because I've got this back problem, I can't sit because of my legs, because it's affecting my legs. My legs keep going pins and needles and so on. So I'm just pointing out that there's different positions that you can use, but they each have their idiosyncrasies to them, and it's fine to move your position while you're in shamatha meditation or any of these practices that we do. It's important to stay comfortable and not to think, oh, I got to work through this pain because that's going to show my commitment or something like that. We're not masochists in that way. So sit comfortably. So if you're sitting on a chair, I find that crossing my ankles, is sometimes very comfortable for me. And then sometimes sitting with my feet more or less together but flat on the floor takes a little bit of pressure off of just the pressure on my butt. So these are different things. Maybe you have something that you can share that is helpful to you. But keeping your back straight is the most important element here. The next thing is that your hands your left hand is up like this, your right hand is lying in your left hand, and your thumbs touching 4 inches below your navel or so forth. And if you pull your shoulders back, just back, it pulls your hands right into your abdomen. So that's very natural. Your shoulders shouldn't be up. Your shoulders should be relaxed, but pulled back a little bit. So your chest is just a little bit prominent. It brings your chest out a little bit, brings your arms in. And your chest should be neutral in terms of breathing. You're breathing in through both nostrils down to your navel, down to 4 inches below your navel. So your chest should remain calm. You're breathing right through that. You're breathing deeply into the bottom of your lungs is what we're trying to promote here. So then your eyes, or before the eyes, your head should be tilted down just a little bit. You can tuck your chin in. I think that helps to visualize the image. So your chin is just pulled in just a little bit, and your face is, if you think of your face as kind of like a horse, and the eyes are up here and its nose is down and so on. So like a gallant horse, a gallant mare or a stallion. So we think of that. So that body position, your neck maybe just a little bit forward and your head down, your chin tucked in a little bit. And then your eyes open or closed. If they're open, they're just gazing. They're just like half open, and you're not really staring. You're not really examining something, but you're just kind of resting your eyes on an object. And it should be, a very neutral kind of an object, something that isn't very bright, and but just something that's very restful. And then, but in the beginning, it might be best to keep your eyes closed, and that way there's less distraction. So when you open your eyes, there is a susceptibility for something to be interfering with your meditation. After a period of time, that doesn't become an issue because you become normal. Your eyes are open. They're in that gaze, but things are happening and you're just not paying attention to it. You're just not recognizing it. Your tongue should be on the roof of your mouth and behind your front teeth. And this helps to keeps moisture in your mouth and keeps your tongue from just moving around aimlessly in your mouth. And if you open your mouth, if you're breathing through your mouth, a lot of people prefer to do that than through their nostrils. That's fine. And so keeping your mouth moist becomes a very important part of that. So, so when you're inhaling, maybe you can try inhaling through both nostrils and then exhaling through the mouth. But remember that you're exhaling and inhaling with your abdomen. Your abdomen is going out as you inhale, and that's pulling your diaphragm down, which opens up the lungs and sucks the air in. Then you hold the breath and you contract the abdomen. It pushes against the diaphragm, pushes against the lungs, and forces that stale negative air out. And you're holding that breath. So that's the visualization of that. That's the mechanics of the proper breathing. So, so today we're going to talk about visualizing with an object. So what we're trying to do with calm abiding meditation is to develop one-pointed mindfulness with no thought. Now that's very difficult to do. So we can only do that for maybe a few seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds before some thought comes into your mind. But what we are doing is we're practicing to let that thought go. that any thought that comes in, all our mundane stuff should be taken care of. We don't have to worry about that we got to go do something or run an errand or anything like that. It shouldn't be that. It's just going to be monkey mind stuff that's coming up. And we just got to say, okay, I can let that go. There's nothing I need to worry about. If there's something comes up that you need to worry about, you should have a piece of paper and a pencil and you can write it down. And then you can let it go and you can deal with it after your meditation practice. But otherwise, it's just something that we can let go. So even if it's something that seems important to us or something that I want to get to, well, maybe that's what you write down. So then you can let it go. So I was thinking something in terms of Dharma, a thought, oh, well, what does Bodhicitta mean or something? I need to look at that. But what we're really trying to do here is to develop no thought, just quiet thought, quiet mindfulness. So by looking at an object, helps us to do when we start thinking about that thought, we bring it back to looking at that object. And it should, like I say, be a neutral object. So I'm going to put up a picture of the Buddha because it should be some inspirational thing. So I can't think of anything more inspirational than the Buddha. And so here we're looking at, his peacefulness of his countenance. We're looking at his body shape. We're looking that he is sitting in this body position that we are sitting in. So he doesn't have his hands together, but his right hand is touching the earth. His fingertips are touching the earth. So what he's saying here is where I am. And being here, I am everywhere. I don't need to be anywhere else. I'm connected to the earth, connected to this position at this time that is everlasting. So that's the message. And in his left hand, he's holding the bowl, the mendicant's bowl, which represents the Dharma, is filled with Dharma nectar. The Dharma teachings is in his mendicant's bowl. So what we are doing, we are practicing the Dharma by this. So we're just relaxed in this position, in this body position. We should be in a very balanced position. So we can begin by keeping our back straight, our eyes just to gaze for 3 or 4 or 5 feet in front of ourselves, maybe looking at the screen, seeing the Buddha. Maybe you see a design that is in your carpet that you're sitting on, or there's something else that you see. And if your mind begins to get sleepy, if you bring your gaze up, open your eyes wide and look up. And so maybe at something on the wall in front of you, if you begin to get sleepy, if you begin to get agitated, and then close your eyes. Close your eyes if you're agitated, jumping around, you're being interrupted by your thought, by seeing your surroundings, whatever, then close your eyes. And if you're getting lazy, if you're getting sleepy, then open your eyes wide and bring your head up a little bit. So those are 2 things that we can do to help overcome the natural tendencies we have when we're developing our meditation posture and so on like that. So we want to be able to remember those things. So again, keeping our eyes just to gaze, looking out at a picture of the Buddha or some image that we have in front of ourselves, but it shouldn't be anything that we have to really analyze. Just relax. And we'll begin by taking 3 deep breaths and holding it, those cycles, and then just relaxing. When our mind wanders, bring it back to the image and just let the thoughts come and let the thoughts go. Don't chase the thoughts, just let them go. And this is what we're going to practice. So we're going to do this in 5-minute 5-minute sessions. Whoops. Okay. So take a deep breath and hold it. Fill the lungs with fresh, clean, pure air. Expand the belly. Keep the chest neutral. Select your image that you are looking, that you're gazing at. Exhale. Hold the breath. Fresh, clean, pure air. Breathe in. Hold it. Exhale. Breathe in. Exhale. Stay relaxed and breathe normal. Keep your eyes in a gaze. No tension in your body. Keep it firm, but not rigid. Take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale and hold it. Open your eyes. Stretch your arms a little bit. It's a break from the meditation, just a little bit. Did you find that maybe the last minute or the last 30 seconds of the 5-minute session here, things were getting to be a little bit normal? You were getting to be relaxed. The first few minutes, you're still getting used to getting all the body position right, getting your eyes right, and so on. For me, that's the way it works. And coming back to seeing the image of the Buddha helps me to remind myself, oh, this is the image that I am performing here, without the self-aggrandizement. If I were to be looking into a mirror and seeing my image, here I'm seeing the image of the Buddha and realizing this is the spiritual within myself. It's something beyond just being a human being. But yet it's within the capability of being a human being. Okay, let's do another 5-minute session. So keep your back straight. Take a deep breath. Exhale. And gaze at the image in front of you. Your mind wanders. Just bring it back to the gaze of the image. Not requiring too much thought. Just letting thoughts go. Calm abiding. Take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale and hold it. Open your eyes wide and stretch your arms. Taking a short meditation break here. Did that second 5 minutes go by a lot quicker than the first 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Could you feel your body just kind of relaxing? Could you feel tension going out of your body at some point? Does it feel that this is natural? Did you have a moment or two, however long, of calm abiding, of just no thought?
Yeah, and I find that when things get too discursive or wild in my mind, that the breathing technique can help calm that down a lot too.
Sure. So there's many different focuses that we can use. You know, this image being one, watching the breath can be another, reciting a mantra. They're all good. Any one of them is good. And we find that we're paying attention, paying attention, paying attention. Then we have these moments of everything just stopping. There's no attention being made, just restfulness. And then a thought comes, something comes, and then you have to re-engage into the object, whatever it is. And it's that cycle that keeps going through. But then the periods in between, the periods of the no thought, of the calm abiding, become longer and deeper. This is developing one-pointed mindfulness. And our natural state is the happiness of that peacefulness, of that no thought. This is where we would like to be. This is our natural state, to be in that state. Okay. So now we'll do one more 5-minute session, but this time we're going to do it with no object. So we're going to do Shamatha, calm abiding meditation with no object. So just stay relaxed. If we need to come back to the object, by all means, come back to it. But try and release any fixation, any attention to any object. Just try and stay relaxed. So we take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale. And take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale. Stay relaxed and open your eyes. So tell me, how was that? What experience did you have?
Everything seemed to slow down.
Okay, good.
I would say I entered kind of an altered, more deeper state of consciousness.
Okay.
I notice as well, like the calmer my mind is, the more of like a sense of happiness I feel too. Like or less burden, maybe. I don't know the best way to describe it, but
Okay.
I think I noticed as well.
Okay. Did you find in the without an object that you needed to come back to an object, but you were able to cut yourself off from the object much quicker at the same time? Anybody notice that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I had a couple thoughts I wanted to say to everybody, and I forgot what they were. I guess it's working, huh? So what we're developing is one-pointed mindfulness. One-pointed mindfulness. And the peace, the quietude is what the one-pointedness becomes. So now, does anybody have any comments or questions you want to ask before we move to the next topic? Okay. So this was Shamatha, calm abiding meditation. In Tibet, it's called Shine, peace abide. Shi is peace, Ne is abide, Shine. So in Buddhism, it's a philosophy. It's not a religion. A religion, if you look it up in a dictionary, very clearly states that it is a relationship to a supreme being, however you want to define that. But religion is being aligning oneself with that supreme being. Buddhism doesn't profess a supreme being. Buddha is that freedom within ourselves that allows us to be at peace, to be natural, to recognize our humanness, but at a spiritual level, to realize that we have our physical body, we have our intellect.
Hi,
Whoa!
you're awesome. Thank you so much.
To have intellectual engagement, intellectual thought, and so on. But at the same time, it's all balanced. The physicality and the intellectualism is balanced in our spirituality. And to do that, we need to let go of the physicality. We need to let go of the intellectual aspect, our ego, our persona, and so on. So the Buddhism is a philosophy of the self and releasing the self, recognizing the self, but releasing the self. We release the self through the emptiness, through recognizing the emptiness. So we talked about that a little bit. And the emptiness is that we are compounded many, many different things that are all compounds of many, many other things. And that the essence of who we are is empty of a true nature. That we are liberating ourselves to realize that we're not bound by anything that is pre-described or predetermined. So this determination, this trying to make sense of who we are and what we are, is the suffering, because we're always trying to reconcile that which cannot be reconciled. It just creates more confusion to us. So being a human being is realizing that. Being the highest human being we can be is realizing that. Being a tortured human being is one who is at the lower level like that, at the physicality and the intellectualism, and trying to recognize all that. But at the spiritual level, we can accept that this is temporary. The physical body is temporary. The intellect is temporary. But the spirituality, we describe it as being birthless. We describe it as being deathless. It just is. And for us to chase what it is meaningless. We just need to relax in it and to abide within being a ordinary human being that has had realization. So that ordinariness that we might say was the physicality and the intellectualism, we would say, oh, that spirituality stuff, that's extraordinary. But now that extraordinariness becomes our ordinariness. And in that ordinariness, we look at the ego, we look at the persona, we look at all that temporary stuff that we worried about and everything, we look at that as being extraordinary because it's not necessary. We don't need to be chasing that. So I know that flips things around, but that is the point of Vipassana. Vipassana meditation, Vipasyana, is the way that I understand that it's best spelled. Vipasyana is special insight, is seeing beyond. Vipassana, seeing beyond. Seeing beyond what we might consider to be our ordinariness and making that seeing beyond the ordinariness, being able to remain in that state. So this seeing beyond is an active process. It's insight meditation. So we start analyzing deeper things. We're not analyzing, the construction of this room and the colors and so on like that, but we're analyzing things like, who am I? Why am I alive? How did I get here? What am I to do now that I'm here? Why should I do this? Or why should I stop this? How do I do either one of those? So we start getting into these deeper philosophical questions and we start investigating them. Part of Vipassana, is the investigation. It is intentional. It can be planned, and it also can be spontaneous. The planning is saying, oh, okay, I've got these set of questions, I've got these teachings that I've learned, I've read these in books or I've heard these teachings, and I want to be able to contemplate them. I want to be able to investigate them in the peace of mind that I get as a result of the process that we've been through this morning. That we've done the shamatha, we did all the other things. Now, in that frame of mind, that peacefulness, now I want to look at these things because everything is kind of settled down. And we can take much longer to let thoughts kind of come in, rest, and then percolate up. And that percolating up is the spontaneity. That's what we need to be able to allow to happen. All this wisdom, all this Buddha wisdom is within us. We've already got it because we're already Buddha, but it's all blocked up. But now we've controlled some of that blockage. We've opened it up. So now that wisdom can start coming up. So with our books, with our teachings, with our notes, and with our own personal experience, we begin to engage in this thought, this investigation. Sometimes it's called discursive thought. Discursive thought, to me, when I first heard it, always seemed to have this negative connotation that, like the monkey mind is discursive, it's jumping around. Well, it's not exactly right because the monkey mind is going from one thing to another, one tree to another, one fruit, one branch, many, many different things. Discursive thought is thinking about a particular topic and looking at all the permutations of that particular topic. That's discursive thought. And we go through that process until we get to the point of exhaustion. If we're interrupted with, let me go to this other thought, let me go to this other tree, let me go to this, well, that's the monkey mind. But if we can stay focused on that one thought, then that's what we're trying to do in Vipassana. That's the investigation process. So we use all these different tools that we have, our notes, the books, the teachings, recordings, whatever it is that we have and everything to do that. And we have the frameworks that we establish, that we study, so we've talked about, the framework of our emotions. We've talked about the framework of the 6 human realms. So these are the results of all these causes, the karma and so on. And that's certainly a framework. And we should have dispensed with that to get to this point. So we wouldn't necessarily have to be thinking about that in Vipassana. We're thinking about these bigger philosophical questions, like I said, of who am I? What am I going to do now that I'm here? What is my body? What is my speech? What is my mind? All these different things like that. So when we do this for a period of time, we come to the resting. We come to the moments of exhaustion of that particular thought. And just like it's locked up, you okay? Do you follow me? So just like in the Shamatha meditation, where we just did Shamatha without a focus of the mind, in Vipassana, we get to a point of that also. And they're very similar. The Vipassana comes out of, the investigation that gets exhausted. And we rest. and then something else may percolate up, and we rest in that. This develops a confidence in ourselves that we have this Buddha nature, that we have this wisdom, and we will surprise ourselves because we will carry this with us. We will carry this Vipassana meditation with us up off the cushion. Not only is it peaceful, not only is it calm, but it's also wise. And we will sometimes surprise ourselves when we engage in a conversation or we're reading and we begin to see the spirituality. We begin to see these spiritual ideas, concepts, whatever, in these conversations. And it just rises up out of ourselves because we've gotten peaceful and the wisdom is coming up. And this becomes the greatest teacher. This is the guru within. The guru without is our teacher who's giving us all these book titles to read and all these different lists and so on like that. But all that is in order so that we can recognize the guru within. And this takes time, practice, etc. There's still going to be blockages. There's still going to be things that are going to happen that are going to distract us and pull us away from that wisdom. But at this point now, we become more confident in allowing that to happen and saying, oh, I got more work to do. That's okay. I'm not upset by it. I haven't lost my connection. I haven't lost my spirituality. It's just that I got some more work to do. Some more dust has come in my house and I have to keep cleaning it. So it's all part of the process. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Let's have a little bit of a discussion about this now.
I have a question.
Okay.
One of the things I do during my own, what I would term loosely as spiritual transformation process, is ask the questions like, who am I? But look at the various things that make up who I am and try to look at what needs to go and what needs to be nurtured and try to evolve that way. Would that be considered part of this Vipassana process?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So we're simplifying ourselves in the process, aren't we?
Yes.
Because we begin to see, all the stuff that's cluttering up, our intellectual mind, instead of just being peaceful with our heart. So there are many books to read. There's things to do to stimulate more of this Vipassana. So we can talk about those things. There's a chapter in the book Stages of Meditation that Khenpo Samdrup has composed that is dedicated to Vipassana. There's another chapter that's dedicated to the Shamatha meditation, which goes into more detail than I've just gone into, by far more detail, talking more about the lists and things like that. And, for myself, it's great to be able to have that outline to say, oh, I know these things, and oh, I don't know these things. I need to investigate these things. And now the things that I thought I knew, I have a new way of looking at them. So our complacency of thinking that, oh, I'm okay, I don't have any questions, I must be okay, I must be really wise because I don't have these questions is we're just kind of fooling ourselves a little bit, and we need to open ourselves up to some more stimulation. One of the things that we have to think about to give you some stimulation is, who am I as the person? And what is that as nature, the phenomenal nature? And to be able to pull both of those apart, to deconstruct both of those, is part of this process. And then when we've got all the pieces laying around on the floor, so to speak, then to put it back together again. Who am I? And what is this? And as we put it back together again, we look at these things and we say, oh, that's something I really need to have. I'm not ready to give that up. I need to have that. I need to have this body, etc. But here are some things I don't really need. These emotions, these jealousies, these petty things that I have. I don't need those things anymore. Let me leave those where they lie. And the same thing with nature. We go through and we see different things in nature. We see the sun and the stars. We see the trees and the grass, and we hear the animals and the birds singing and the dogs barking and all these different things, and say, well, this is all part of nature. Is it something I need? Is it something I enjoy? Is it something that becomes a burden to me? All these questions come up, and we need to choose what it is. And sometimes what this results in are saying, I'm living in the wrong place. I'm completely, I didn't realize it, but this noise is always bothering me, or this silence is always bothering me. I need to be in a different environment, and that maybe a root cause of some of my suffering is environmental, and I haven't done anything about it. I just took it for granted that it had to be this way. So sometimes this can be how we change our relationships with other people, our families, our friends, our jobs, things like that. So change is a huge part of the result of this Vipassana meditation, because we realize that this peace of mind is where we really want to be. And anything that gets in the way of that peace of mind becomes dispensable. So it may not be easy in the beginning, but in the end, it gives us what we need to have, want to have. Maybe need to have is the better word. Wanting, is prone to interpretation, and interpretation is completely relative. So again, examining all this, what is relative and what is absolute? All these questions are important questions. important things that need to be followed. Now, some people don't have the ability to do this. Some people have, are happy, are simple, and they haven't developed this level of investigation. And that's okay. Not everybody's going to do this. A lot of people will just be very happy to remain in the shamatha level karma body meditation. And that's okay. Maybe you're one of those people. And that's okay. But just recognize that after some period of time, things change, and you may find yourself waking up to this level of questions. So that when that does happen, there's a system, there's an element of investigation or meditation that helps us to guide through that. So having said all this, I'm not, this is something that it's hard to lecture about because it's really based on experience and based on your own thoughtfulness. So I suggest that you read the books. If you don't have the books, but you would like to have the chapter or something, let me know. I've got these in PDF, the chapters, and I can email them to you and you can read them if you want and meditate on them. I mean, I've been through these things many times over the years, and it's something that, this is part of the circular, spiral illustration I always make. This is always going round like this, and it keeps going round at any particular level until we solve the riddle of that particular level, and then we go to the next level, like a spiral. And the spiral gets a little tighter, it's a little higher, and it's a little smaller, but we keep going around those things until you solve those riddles, and then you go to the next level and so on. So you're purifying, your intellect. You're purifying your spirituality, what your understanding of it is, what your stability of it is. You're purifying that. So until you get to the pinnacle, which is that point that where you cross over from being a ordinary person to a extraordinary person that now becomes the ordinary person, and all this lower stuff becomes extraordinary. So all this stuff begins to come into focus. All that stuff you begin to recognize and see in that way. So you got to do this yourself, is the point. In order to help us to get there, to have an example of what this is the next level of meditative experience. And this is the deity yoga. We need to know what it is to be enlightened, what it is to be that free, what it is to be that pure. So it's not like a light switch that gets flipped and then all of a sudden you're there and all this wisdom comes and everything. You may have a glimpse of it in that same manner with like the click of a finger, the flip of a light switch. You may have a glimpse of it, but it's gone as fast as it came. It's not stable. So in order to stabilize it, we need to have the intellectualization of what that freedom is, what that purity is. So the deity yoga is the way in which we do that. So this is the Sambhogakaya. We talked about the three bodies of the Buddha. We talk about the Dharmakaya, which is the unborn body, the true spirituality that is unborn, that is non-conceptual. When we are having those moments of shamatha meditation, when we are having those moments of vipassana resting meditation, we are experiencing that non-conceptuality. There's no thought. There's no conception. and we love it. It's where we want to be. But then it goes and we try and get it back. So the Dharmakaya is with us. It's there. You know, we just haven't recognized it. We haven't gotten quiet enough to be able to abide within that, to be able to recognize that. In order for us to help do that comes the Nirmanakaya. The Nirmanakaya is the emanation body of that Dharmakaya. That Dharmakaya is the non-conceptual. The emanation body is the conceptual manifestation of that energy into form, into matter, so that we can hear the teacher. We can see the teacher. The teacher can see us and can touch us, and we can have a conversation. That we can have the books, that we can read the books, and we can ask questions of our teacher of the books, and so on. So it's the manifestation of that non-conceptuality in form so that we can be inspired and process and move up to that non-conceptual level and remain there all the time. So what those books are talking about and what those teachers are talking about is encapsulated in what we call the Sambhogagaya, the enjoyment body, the intellectualization of this. So this enjoyment body, this Sambhogagaya, is all the iconography. There's all these different Buddhas and all the different colors and all these different symbols and representations of what this non-conceptuality is there. And so these give us these signs of what it is that we need to understand in order to let go, in order that we may abide within that non-conceptuality, that Dharmakaya. So that's going to be, pardon me, that's going to be our next field of study. Is going to be the Sambhogagaya. We've been talking in the Nirmanakaya form for a long time, you know, not that I'm Buddha, but what I'm trying to do is to present the Buddha Dharma to everybody. You know, you wouldn't get it if you didn't have this level of engagement from the teacher's side or from your side as the student. So that inspires you to go to the next level, to the Sambhogagaya. And it's the deity, and that's the deity yoga, the enjoyment body. To recognize that these deities are within ourselves, we need to recognize what their qualities are and how we remove the obstacles that keep us from being able to be those deities. So that's what we're going to start talking about next week. It doesn't stop our meditation. The what we've been talking about today, the Shamatha and the Vipasyana, that will give you the experience. That will give you the platform for the experience of the Guru Yoga. The Guru Yoga we're going to talk about is going to be an intellectualization of it. It's not going to be the experience. You get the experience through the meditation. So if you don't do these things that we've been talking about, you're not going to get to the result that you'd like to have, I think. So I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. Is this the path you'd like to go down, Matthew?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gary?
Yes.
Okay. Hatley?
Yes, I've never had language for what I my own personal process before, but what I do a lot of the Vipassana style meditation on a regular basis. So it's nice to have a language for it, for what I'm doing besides my everyday vocabulary.
Right.
So
So it's a great affirmation for your Buddha
yes.
nature. Very good. Mark, how about you? What do you think about this? Okay, good. All right, well, very good. Well, then I'm looking forward to sharing some more stuff with you. I'm going to have some things come in the mail to you very shortly, and we can begin this investigation. So we need to do our dedications for today. Unless somebody else has another question or comment you'd like to go into. Okay. All right, then Matthew, if you will do our dedications, please. So time has really gotten away here. So why don't we do the dedication prayer on page 21 and 22, and that'll be our dedication.
Okay.
Everybody recite along, please.
Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind root and lineage lamas, divine assembly of yidams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, yogins, yoginis, and dakinis dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May all the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara, nirvana, and the innate root of virtue, not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as a Shravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Mars and the hordes of demons, experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and through that, may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise even at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such, and the pervading clarity of Dharma. May I in any case gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo. Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate your being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. See you next week. Okay.
Hey, Lance,
Yes, sir.
are we still having class tomorrow, like the usual?
I'd like to. Can you be there?
It just dawned on me, tomorrow's my brother's birthday, so I might not be able to join till and also for the video thing, like till maybe halfway through, or potentially not be able to come tomorrow night.